Hi, this is Don from Integral Partners, and in this video we'll touch on some of the highlights from the recent 2020 CSO50 Conference and Awards. We were proud to be gold sponsors this year, along with Sailpoint. Now, if you weren't able to attend, for a short time you still can view all the keynote sessions and other on-demand content. Just use the link in our blog post to register and you'll get access. At the end, I'll review a few of the more popular offers from the conference that you still have access to. So let's get started. The first keynote I'll mention is from ravind Swaminathan. Now, he's a former cybercrime prosecutor that touched on a lot of very interesting topics, including what CISOs should ask when they're considering a new CISO role, the personal liability dangers that CISOs can face by concealing information, and here where he discussed companies that can provide indicators to help you deal with ransomware threats.
They actually have some incredible data that they can share with you in terms of things like what's the average ransom, how much can you typically negotiate them down to?
Make sure I'm not getting hosed.
Yeah, right. What's the length of time for which they will negotiate? Are there threats that they'll post your information on the dark web credible or not? Right? Mm-hmm. Are they generally trustworthy? Right? Trustworthy among criminals, right? Will they actually give you the decryption keys or delete your data if you pay them? And so they have a stable of incredibly robust data that they can actually provide you, which as an information security professional can actually help you in your conversations with the executives.
The discussion with Greg Wood from the Walt Disney Company was interesting. He talked about his approach to protecting the Disney brand, and here he talked about the value he sees in focusing on data versus scare tactics.
Yeah. We could all walk in and say, look, let me tell you all the bad things that an adversary could do, but the reality is, let's look at the likelihood of the attacks. Like, for example, you read that, the Verizon data breach report every year will tell you that 96% of attacks are leverage a known vulnerability. Mm-hmm. It's great data. If I protect everything known, I've reduced the surface area to 4%. Mm-hmm. So I'm already considered reasonable and prudent.
Among the things that Lori Robinson from Sailpoint and our very own Ryan Clough from Integral Partners discussed was a trend they see of companies moving their identity program to the cloud, why so many companies are migrating away from their old legacy systems, and how they see identity evolving over the next few years.
The threat landscape is changing so quickly and our IT environments are becoming so much more dynamic that having legacy systems that are based on static policy or where it's very difficult to roll up new systems, just don't scale in this highly complex environment. So I think it's super important to balance, sometimes you're going to keep some of your old identity infrastructure in play, but then you have to start looking at newer approaches to handle maybe some of your new use cases.
I think there's going to be some continued growth in the AI and, automation space, actually. Mm-hmm. We're starting to see a couple of the customers, especially those who have been doing it for a little while, in the identity space. They really want to take advantage of machine learning and identity to help reduce a lot of the overhead that sometimes goes along with governance in general.
The discussion with TikTok CISO Roland Cloutier touched on a wide variety of fascinating topics, including what types of automation he thinks can help with regulatory changes.
How do we automate consumer privacy needs? I mean, some of the laws that we operate within different jurisdictions, and it doesn't matter if it's the EU or CCPA or what Brazil's doing around consumer confidence and access to information, that stuff needs to be automated. You're not going to build call centers to answer questions about, where's my data, has it been deleted? You have to enable, this integral data access modeling and transparency capability to the consumer level. And I think all of those things are really important.
Some of the other content you might want to spend some time with includes Tim Youngblood, the CISO for McDonald's, who discusses his journey to becoming a CISO, a discussion with CSO editors from around the world, where they discuss today's issues from a perspective of the regions that they operate in. And there's a very timely discussion with Nationwide and Blue Cross about the challenges and strategies for bringing your workforce back into the office. So go ahead and use our link to register if you haven't already. And lastly, as part of our gold sponsorship of the CSO50, we created a no-cost workshop, Identity and Access Management Essentials, for attendees. It turned out to be one of the most requested offerings of the conference, so we've extended it beyond the show. You can find a link in the blog post to learn more, but it's a great way to give your team an IAM primer, understand the terms, the ecosystem, and the marketplace, and learn from our 20 years of experience. It's definitely not a cookie-cutter workshop. We do tailor it to fit the maturity of your company and to address the questions that you want answered and the areas that you want covered. So reach out if you'd like more information or to schedule a workshop. Thanks for your time and take care.